So Rush Limbaugh went on Fox News this weekend, and the host, Chris Wallace, nailed his ass to the wall over his support of Trump's executive action on the border wall. Take a look.
The fact is that when President Obama took executive actions, you were outraged. And as you would expect, I've got a couple of examples of Rush Limbaugh over the years. Let's put them on the screen. In June of 2012, when President Obama deferred action against the Dreamers, you said this: 40 years ago, Richard Nixon was hounded out of office, supposedly for his illegal actions. And I'm telling you that whatever Nixon did pales in comparison to just this move by Obama today. In November of 2014, on reports that Mr. Obama was going to protect millions of parents of Dreamers, you said this: we can't just stand idly by and try to find some political opportunity while the president basically shreds the Constitution and flushes it down the toilet. So here's my question, Rush. I understand that you like what President Trump is doing and you didn't like what President Obama was doing. But that's the concern here, is that to the degree that you give the president more and more powers, yes, you're going to get some things, executive powers from one president you like, but you're going to get things, executive powers from another president that you don't like.
You may look at it that way. I don't. I look at it right and wrong. And what Obama was doing was furthering this existing problem. He was politicizing this, using whatever executive powers he wanted to use. Yes, I objected to that, but primarily because of what he was doing with these executive powers. He was taking action that I deemed to be harmful to the country. I look at what Trump is doing as something he has to do because he's not getting any cooperation whatsoever. Both parties, Chris, let's be honest here. Both parties have people that are still trying to get rid of Donald Trump.
To sum his answer up in a more succinct way, he said, beep, 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 beep. That was Rush Limbaugh's response there. You know, there's an underrated point that needs to be made here. A lot of the arguments coming from the left against these far-right commentators like Rush Limbaugh, a lot of the arguments center around them being like evil and immoral. And I'm not here to argue against that. But what I am here to say is the underrated point is they're really, really, really dumb. In fact, I think their stupidity overrides their immorality. Now, here's why I say that. And I've pointed this out going years back on the show. You could see it in old school videos from Secular Talk. I don't think that they have whatever mechanism it is in the brain that allows you to recognize your own hypocrisy. They don't have that thing. Like, hypocrisy just doesn't click. It doesn't register. They're not impacted by it. They don't get the concept. So when you say, hey, wait a second now, the principle that you have routinely claimed to support is small government. And the principle you've routinely claimed to support is I'm against executive orders, I'm against executive action. Like, that's what you've been saying all these years. So now Trump comes along and he does an executive order, executive action on the border wall, and all of a sudden you love it. So do you not understand? You flipped on the principle there. You flipped on the principle. And there's just no acknowledgement or recognition that he did that. And his reaction is basically, well, this is about, good and bad. So what Trump is doing is good. What Obama did was bad. Therefore, it's all fine and dandy. No, Rush, you don't get it. That's not how it works. See, when you're dealing with something like a country and governing, there's this little thing called precedent. So if you say it's okay that Donald Trump gets to willy-nilly declare a national emergency and just do everything on his own, do an executive order on his own to do the border, well, then what you're saying is President Bernie Sanders gets to do a Medicare for All system by declaring an executive action and saying it's a national emergency. I'm just going to do it. We need to wean our way off of fossil fuels over the next 10 years because President Ocasio-Cortez says we got to do it because of climate change. But of course, if and when we cross that bridge, Rush Limbaugh comes out and says, I'm against big government like this. I'm against executive action like this. You can't just declare a national emergency. What are you, a dictator? But you just supported it when it was Trump. They don't get the idea of, hey, here's a principle, and you have to apply that principle across the board. He doesn't get it. That doesn't register in his head. He just thinks, Republican good, Democrat bad. Republican do anything. Don't matter principle. He's a fucking Neanderthal. He's a dumbass. It's amazing. It really is amazing watching these guys function. Because and here's the thing, guys. You would think he would come up with a better line of bullshit than what he just said right there. See, that's how, if he came up with a more convincing line of bullshit, I would say, okay, he does recognize his hypocrisy, and he's trying to weasel out of saying, oh no, this isn't hypocritical because X, Y, and Z. He doesn't do that. He's just like, but Trump good, Obama bad. So that principle that I've said I believed in for my whole fucking career, don't believe in it at all. And I support Trump because Trump good, border wall good. Don't big government now good, even though it was just bad. Executive orders now good, even though it was just bad. So, yeah, credit to Chris Wallace there, because basically the way he framed that, it was going to be really hard for a dumbass like Rush Limbaugh to wiggle out, and Rush basically didn't even try. He was just like, yep, you tapped me. We're doing jujitsu, and I tap. You're right. You got me. What am I going to say? You got me, dick. So, and final point is, it's funny how people have to pretend like Rush Limbaugh is still relevant. He's not. He's not at all relevant. First of all, AM radio is just dead. Second of all, Rush on his flagship station, which was WABC here in New York, there like 5 years ago, they had stopped playing regular commercials and went to public service announcements and dead air in his break time. Okay, you know what that is, son? That's called unprofitable. That's called your ass is going to be kicked off. And guess what? He was kicked off his flagship station. So now he's only still on the air, honestly, because of the sugar daddies over at all the right-wing think tanks and the Koch brothers. So you have, American Enterprise Institute, Heritage Foundation. All the right-wing commentators are basically welfare queens to those right-wing think tanks. They get money from right-wing billionaire donors who want these guys to keep pushing their propaganda. And so they don't know or don't care that Rush Limbaugh is speaking to 17 dudes at a retirement center now. And that he goes on Fox News, once a year, and they pretend like he's relevant, which is hilarious. By the way, Trump said in a speech recently, he's the most listened to, unbelievable, most listened to talk show, millions of people. And, Rush Limbaugh in the back of his mind had to be watching that going, God damn, if only he knew I'm super irrelevant now. So it's just funny that mainstream media treats him like he's serious when he's been irrelevant for quite a time now.